When Darren and I were talking about what should we discuss at Ag PhD today, I just said, you know, Darren, I've had so many farmers that I've talked to that said, I think I'm going to bump my corn maturity for next year because we've had 3 years in a row where the corn's been really dry in the fall. Yep, but do you remember what happened 4 years ago? The corn was super wet in the fall, and I'm just concerned going into 2013 that if seed is a little short, especially on early maturities, everybody's gonna bump up 5 days and we're gonna have all kinds of wet corn at the end of the year. So, I mean, how should a guy go about doing these things? What we always talk about in Ag PhD is spreading your risk. And I realize if you're a gambler and you're shooting for the home run, you want to put one good variety in, the plot winner this year. You're going to put it on all your acres. It's going to push the maturity. You're going to push everything. You can do that, but the more you gamble, the bigger your loss could potentially be. So if you spread your risk, this is just, I mean, just real simple economics. If you just spread your risk, the odds are you're not going to go broke. And that's what Dad always used to tell us.
Well, you know, Brian, it's kind of like the guys in Chicago. They're trying to outguess the weather. They're watching all the long-range forecasts, trying to think, wow, if we get rain, we're going to have a big crop, so the market's going to go down, so I should speculate this way or that way. Look, don't be a speculator. Just spread your risk out. A lot of guys say I'm going to do the 20-60-20 plan, where I have 60% be kind of the historic maturity for my area, 20% I'll push it a little bit and go with a little later, and 20% I'll push it and go with a little earlier. And, you know, over the years, that's going to average out just fine. Maybe you're 25, 50, 25. I don't care what your mix is, but just kind of mix it up a little bit. Like for us on our farm, probably 95-day corn is what's going to be ideal for us year in and year out. But you know what? We'll plant some 100 or maybe 103-day corn on the late side. We'll plant some 90-day on the early side, maybe a little earlier if we get a little late in the season planting or something like that, and try and spread our risk out. And some of it you can judge by, hey, if I'm planting the first day that crop insurance will cover me, maybe I can push it a little further this year, or if I'm getting in a month later, you already know you have to back it off.
Yep, so one last comment that I guess I would make, don't look just for plot winners. Yes, it's nice to have varieties that are going to yield, but you don't know what's going to happen next year versus what happened last year. In other words, 2 years ago it was a flood, a year ago a drought. What's next year going to be? We don't know. So the odds are real slim that last year's winter is going to be next year's winter. What you do want to pick varieties for is certain disease or certain defensive characteristics. So for example, if you're concerned about Goss's wilt, you better get a Goss's wilt tolerant hybrid or you're in big trouble because we don't have any way to rescue that. Same thing with iron deficiency chlorosis or some of these other problems that you might have.
Well, or the traits that you need. If you need to have a Smart Stacks trait because you've got tremendous rootworm pressure, you better have it because there's not a whole lot of ways you can make up for that.
Yep, so there are a lot of ways, a lot of different areas where you can, you know, make concessions with your seed dealer and settle for this or that, but don't settle for defensive traits that aren't going to work for you.
One other thing you can't settle for is a patch of our Weed of the Week on your farm. We'll show you how to get it under control coming up next.